time is 7:01, and this is the Urbana Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, and this meeting is called to order. Will someone take the attendance?
Yes.
Thank you.
Annie Adams.
Present.
Susan Jones.
Present.
Tommy Griscom. Chishi Wang. Audrey Ishii.
Present.
Bruce Mickelson.
Present.
Keenan Portis. Sartak Prasad.
Present.
Nancy Westcott. And I'm filling in for John. I'm Carmen Franks.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda? No? Okay. The agenda is approved then. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Carmen? Did you have a point? Oh, okay.
Oh, I just left my mic on. Sorry, I was going to say we should recognize that Andrea and Kevin are here as well for the attendance. Sorry, guys.
I'm sorry. You mentioned that you were here for John Zeman then?
Yes.
Okay. So Kevin Garcia and Andrea Rudy are here to talk about the new comprehensive plan for Urbana. Minutes of the previous meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minute? Okay, thank you. Moved by Bruce.
I will second that motion.
Second by Sue. Discussion? Did you have discussion? No. Again, I think they really captured the essence of the meeting. Really great job. Let's have a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes of the August 2024, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Okay. Public input and commissioner communications. Remember, we do also have announcements if it's a future-looking announcement. Okay. Well, I will give a quick summary of yesterday. The Mayor Marlin made a proclamation in support of Bike to Work Day, which, if you recall, Sarthak is heavily involved with, and is occurring this week on Wednesday. He'll probably talk about it a little bit. Yes, tomorrow. And I'm just going to read the proclamation. Whereas for more than a century, the bicycle has been a utilitarian, economical, environmentally sound, and effective means of personal transportation, recreation, and fitness. And whereas the City of Urbana, identified as a bicycle-friendly community by the League of American Bicyclists, encourages the use of bicycles as a means of transportation. And whereas the city recognizes bicyclists as legitimate roadway users, entitled to legal and responsible use of all public roadways. And whereas the city, recognizing the use of bicycles as a viable mode of transportation, endeavors to promote safe and responsible bicycling and has been incorporating facilities, infrastructure in the development and redevelopment vision of our community. And whereas the city encourages the increased use of bicycles, benefiting all citizens of Urbana by improving air quality, reducing traffic congestion and noise, increasing the use of and dependence on finite energy sources, and fostering exercise. And whereas the mayor encourages all citizens to ride their bicycles to work, to the store, to the park, around their neighborhood, and with friends and family, to promote the personal and societal benefits achieved by bicycling. Now, therefore, I, Diane Wolf Marlin, Mayor of the City of Urbana, do hereby proclaim September 18th as Bike to Work Day in the City of Urbana, Illinois, and encourage everyone to ride their bikes. And so this proclamation was handed to BPAC in recognition of our work promoting bicycle-friendly community. There's a CU Bike Month webpage, and sorry, I'll let Sarthak talk about that, but during the announcements probably. But there were several sponsors. The big ones are MTD, Carl, and the U of I. Okay, thank you. Okay, unfinished business. Safe Streets and Roads for All Grant Discussion by Annie Adams.
All right, just for review, this is a letter that we will be sending to Mayor Marlin and members of the Urbana City Council. The letter's in great shape. I'm just going to read through it because everyone wasn't at the meeting last month. And then I need to explain that there are a few differences in the examples at the end that are currently in your packet, if you look in your packet. So the letter is, I think, exactly the same. I know it's exactly the same. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, BPAC, unanimously urges the city to apply for US DOT Safe Streets for All Road Users, an SS4A grant for fiscal year 25-26. BPAC has confirmed with the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission, CCRPC, that Urbana can apply for the implementation and/or planning and demonstration SS4A grants. In 2024, nearly $1 million was awarded to CCRPC for supplemental planning and demonstration activities. About $200,000 will go towards demonstration of safety improvements on North Lincoln Avenue between Killarney and Washer. About $800,000 will be used for countywide Vision Zero data collection and safety planning with a goal of 0 Champaign County traffic fatalities. The CCRPC's success in securing this funding is encouraging and suggests a similar application by Urbana will have an excellent chance of bringing in much needed revenue for the city's safety imperatives. Federal funding for the supplemental planning and demonstration grants for fiscal year 24 is $461.5 million. Every eligible SS4A application was awarded financial support in the previous 2 years. The U.S. Department of National Transportation Safety Strategy is pursuing a safe systems approach to traffic management, which aims to eliminate fatal and severe injuries for all road users. Safe speed is a critical element of this approach. The SS4A grant process specifically approves speed management studies and plans. The grantee matches 20%, which can be from in-kind services. Several communities of comparable size in Illinois, such as St. Joe's in 2018, Savoy and Crystal Lake, Illinois, population 40K in 2021, reduced speeds on residential streets from 30 to 25. An SS4A planning and demonstration grant would support Urbana's effort to review similar street safety options. Additional planning activities an SS4A grant can fund include planning and facilitating public meetings on street safety options, testing traffic calming measures at high speed and frequent crash locations, creating educational installations to improve situational awareness for Urbana bicyclists and pedestrians, including K through 12 students, deploying crosswalks and other bicycle and pedestrian safety infrastructure, supporting safe routes to school activities. The application process is manageable by design with a 1-page narrative plan and a 2-page description of demonstration projects. Because these funding opportunities align well with Urbana's aspiration for safer streets, BPAC strongly encourages submitting an SS4A grant application in the coming year. BPAC is ready to assist in this effort. Sincerely, on behalf of BPAC members, Audrey Ishii, Acting Chair of BPAC. References: Boston lowered the speed limit from 30 to 25 in 2017. A study that included a control site was completed. The chance of vehicle exceeding 40 miles per hour fell by 29%. Seattle found similar results. Both cities did not increase enforcement. The following concepts are fundable. SS4A solutions. Oh, okay, so this is the change. This next section here is going to be a little different than what's in your packet. The following concepts are what we thought would be a good idea would be to explain that the images that are included in the packet can be deployed throughout the city, not just in those locations. So we said the following concepts are fundable SS4A solutions, which can be deployed throughout the city in locations such as Blair Park, Vine in Pennsylvania, Urbana Middle School, Vine in Michigan, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary School, Goodwin, Beslin, and Fairview. And then we included 4 illustrations: Urbana Middle School and High School, Fairlawn and Vine, improved pedestrian crossing for students, faculty, and staff, add crosswalks, vehicle stop bars, and pop-up stop signs. Anderson and Washington, enhance safety routes to school and crosswalks, add crosswalks, vehicle stop bars, and stop signs. You're picking up on a theme. Anderson and Fairlawn, enhance safe routes to school, enhance crosswalks, and add a traffic circle to manage speeds. And then the fourth one is paint the backs of stop signs red to increase their visibility. So then we have the images here showing stop signs and stop bars and crosswalks. And then we have crosswalks and stop bars. And then we have a mini little traffic circle, and we have crosswalks. And then here's an image of the back of a stop sign painted red.
I think it's awesome because it shows exactly what we're talking about, but it's flexible.
I agree.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Could you scroll it up to the traffic circle? I like looking at it.
Okay.
I think it sounds good.
Are you asking for just the planning and implementation grant, or are you open to, or planning and demonstration grant, or are you open to the implementation grant? Because there's the 2 types of grants.
I'm going to defer to Audrey on that question.
It's our judgment that there's almost no chance of getting an implementation grant, but I think, CCRPC's pushing hard on that concept if they could get one. My understanding is our region just doesn't have the kind of traffic fatalities that are going to attract their attention for an implementation grant. Those are much, much larger, and they really want to see a bang for the buck on those grants. They want to see traffic fatalities plummet and be able to say, this is an SS4A, impact. Whereas the planning grants, they haven't been able to give away all the money yet, and everyone who's asked has received, basically, who's been eligible, including some very large grants for some fairly small communities. So, and speed studies are a big thing that they're pushing too, is speed reduction and safety plans.
Is there an amount that we can, is there like a max that we would, because weren't you saying smaller cities were getting like $1 million?
Well, that was Baltimore that was getting, it went from 1 million one year to 10 the next, $10 million on a planning and demonstration grant. But they have 20% to make available. And we did have presentations on this earlier. Salary can be paid out of it, including special programs for safety ambassadors, youth education, things like that. So really, it's just the match. The 20% is kind of the limit.
Was one of the reasons we couldn't do implementation also because that requires us to have an action plan or something that qualifies as an action plan already?
My understanding from CCRPC is that they checked and that we would be considered qualified under their action plan. But one of the things we really wanted to do was to potentially add an appendix that was Urbana specific, because none of their actions actually call for specific. They do not call out communities where the rubber meets the road, basically. So it's very generic in that sense. And we wanted to have an action plan that would be Urbana specific. We'd have to talk to them more. We really prefer it to be an appendix on their plan, because they already have laid a lot of the groundwork.
Are you referring to the urban safety plan?
Exactly, yeah. They're saying that we would be covered under that if we wanted to do an implementation proposal. Yeah.
Okay. But you're saying that plan isn't specific enough, like we would.
Well, it's not specific enough to obviate the need for our own action plan. It's specific enough that it's flying they say anyway in their conversations with Fed Highways, that it would be accepted if we applied for an implementation grant. It would be specific enough for that, but, and they do identify intersections. They just simply haven't broken it down by municipality. I mean, they do identify segments and intersections and so on, but they are no longer, since 2018, breaking down the statistics of crashes by municipality. So it's not, it's very much regional. So
Yeah, I was
yes,
going to say, in all fairness, that is their focus.
exactly. That is what they are supposed to do.
So that's something you're looking for in this planning grant, is to look specific to Urbana, number of crashes,
Well,
at certain intersections?
I think we're all just tired of plans and studies. I think what we'd really like to see is a speed study that promotes action, that overcomes the obstacles to expanding the university special speed zone to all the residential and or business areas of Urbana. We'd be ready to go ahead and be more focused. I don't know, would you agree? Other people jump in?
Yes, I think we had talked about proposing the creation of this addendum, but I guess it's sort of parallel to these other initiatives, and I think there's maybe more interest in more motivation to work on these other items related to the demonstration projects. At least that's my sense.
Like, the demonstration projects would be the ones that are shown in the images here.
Yep.
Why couldn't those be implementation projects? Like, why does it have to be a demonstration?
That's the setup of the grant, is you have to do you can ask for implementation money, but again, chances are remote, honestly,
competitive.
of getting one. The demonstration grant, I feel like down the road, they're going to say, oh, if you want to just keep it there, that's okay. But they are specifically supposed to be temporary and a before and after analysis, evaluation done. Tommy looked into this quite a bit.
Yeah, I think in general, the idea is that the demonstration and planning grants, they help you to develop an action plan and revise and update an action plan. And implementation is sort of designed for those communities that already have a well-established action plan. And we maybe don't fit that profile quite as well. And I guess also maybe we're just not big enough for them to be interested in giving us an implementation grant, maybe.
And I think we're small enough so that demonstration things can make a bigger difference. And then finally, we have things out there that are visible. And people can say, oh, that little thing in the circle, that looks really good and that worked really well. Let's do that somewhere else.
But I guess certainly if there's interest from city staff in applying for implementation grants, I think, we'll be very supportive. We're not going to say, don't do that. This has just kind of been where our focus has been.
My understanding is there's more interest in the implementation
Oh,
grants than the planning
okay.
and demonstration, because our experience with the planning and demonstration grant is that it's a lot of effort for this
Right.
analysis and the reporting for not that much money,
Okay.
that it might be more worth our time to
Yeah.
go after the larger one, even if it's more competitive. But
Well, it was the word that I've received from the Vision Zero Network, which has been really coordinating a lot of these grants, is that it's supposed to fall under the categorical exclusion of needing all this meeting NEPA requirements and so on. And I recently saw a huge, what was it? A huge example, and they, I'm sorry, I'm going to have a senior moment here. There was a huge example in which, IDOT, it's right in our town. Sorry, it's the I-57, I-74 overpass. They said they were told, you're not changing the footprint. That's okay. You don't need to worry about NEPA. You're not changing the footprint. Okay.
that hasn't been our experience. We've been told
Yeah,
that even
there's
if we
something
change the
wrong.
striping, we have to do the environmental.
There's something wrong with that. Nobody would want the grant, and millions have been given out. I mean, nobody would want the grant if you have to do that. I'd be happy to get together with some of the examples, but I did want to point out that Annie is showing these as examples. She's not saying these have to be here. lane delineators, for example. She doesn't have that here, but that could certainly be something. Whatever staff is interested in. She put these out as examples to generate ideas, not the be-all and end-all. Is that correct, Annie?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, they were from previous presentations that I've given on creating safe routes for students to get to school. And because I've heard a lot of concerns of parents who would really like their kids to be able to bike or walk to the local schools, but it's not safe for them to do it. So I came up with routes and ways that we could, simply modify some streets. Like this is Washington, add at crosswalks and stop bars and stop signs, which would allow the students and residents who live nearby to cross those streets. And then this would be the next tough intersection. And then when they got to the school, they would actually have a stop sign. Oh my gosh. And then the students on both sides of the street, and even through that crosswalk there. Wow. So there aren't really radical ideas. I think a lot of this is like kind of common sense. But yeah, I mean, we're totally open to if whatever's gonna get us the money and get us the paint on the ground and the stop signs and.
Well, I think you would have a lot of school support for these too, because I know the school administrators have been to the Traffic Commission asking for enhancements for safety.
Yeah, and that Martin Luther King, I mean, that intersection at Goodwin, Beslin, and Fairview just needs someone to just sit there for an hour or two and watch how the cars move through the space. Because I was mentioning that I was out there for the Urbana Amble and I had a car and the cars didn't even see me. So I can't even imagine if you're like a little kid or if you're on a bike, anybody would see you. It's a weird intersection. I was looking at it when I was putting this together. It's a weird intersection, so I can see why people just sort of breeze through it. But anyway, that would need like it would need somebody to just sit there and think about like what's a really creative solution to make that space workable for everybody.
Well, can we agree to be flexible here? I mean, if the grant pursuing personnel of the city finds that the way is clear and welcome is forthcoming to pursue an implementation grant, that we will enthusiastically jump on board that with whatever support we can provide.
Does that mean I have to alter my letter, though, Bruce?
No, I don't think so. It has to do with what I'm suggesting, Annie, it's what they tell us.
Oh, you're
I
vague
think
enough
you
in
have
there.
you have the line in the first paragraph that can
Right.
apply for implementation and/or planning.
Exactly.
And demonstration grant. And I want to point out that we do have a grant writer consultant under contract now. So I don't have much experience with SS4 grants, but this firm does, and I can pass this along to them to include in their list for the grants that they'll analyze for, what should be top priority for us to go after.
And Audrey, do we have information that we can share on like our high crash areas or is that not, do we not have that data yet? Have we not collected data like that?
Oh, yeah. No, RPC has definitely collected data like that.
Oh, cool.
I don't think we need to be that specific
Right.
for this letter, though, for this resolution. That's something for staff to look at, I think. Yeah.
Or we-
No, CCRPC's definitely collected the crash data.
And we can give them other support when we have reason. Like this is saying, hey, we want this to happen and we want to support you doing it, but you're in the driver's seat. What do you want to do?
And we don't have to wait for crash data to do improvements around schools, I mean, the Lincoln Avenue project is an example of where crash data is a big part of that.
So may I move that we vote to support this letter in its current form and send it forward?
Please. Okay. Second?
I will second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. All right, the next item on the agenda is the U of I Campus Bicycle Master Plan update.
All right, everyone. I'll try to keep it short, really short. The university is updating the campus bike master plan, and I just sent it out for public input. We've sent it out to people who have registered their bicycles. So far, this is the list. So far, I have sent it out to the people who have registered their bicycles. So that's a list of around 3,300 people. And come on, man. And a list of 2,500 students that was procured through the Demographic Management Institute. I will be sending it out to, bike plan public input, that's why. I will be sending it out to a lot more people when I have a little bit of time, as maybe on Friday or early next week. But this form is out now, which is basically like we talk about where to get the bike plan, which is this document over here. I've used bookmarks, and even in the form itself, I've talked about which page will get you to which chapter, mostly looking at implementation and goals and objectives chapters. If you have any comments, we are it would be very much appreciated if you could send us your feedback. Each form, you're allowed to send in up to 5 general comments and 5 specific infrastructure-based project comments. So the infrastructure projects that we have listed in this document are listed here under the implementation chapter, which are basically these. This is the list of our projects. And again, some of them are already underway, and some are, oh wait, did I need to update this just a little bit. We've got under the implementation projects, what the project is, what we are going to do, what the existing condition is, and what the future, what would be the area look like after the implementation, after the project is done. So that's about it, basically. That's all I wanted to share, that this document is, this feedback form is out now, and we are going to collect feedback until October 31st. So there's plenty of time, and hopefully we'll get a lot of comments. Once we have the comments, we will be reviewing all of them. If there is a recurring theme over a project or goal or anything, we will discuss amongst ourselves within FNS, talk about it, whether it makes sense to include it or not, present it to our steering committee, who was part of creating this draft, and include it in the document if everyone says that we should. Otherwise, we will still publish all of the public input or all the feedback that we receive from this form into the document itself.
And Sarthak, will you be doing any like in-person events to try to get feedback? I know RPC cornered me at like the Lincoln Avenue corridor and got me to fill out like one of their like longer things, which I probably would have blown off if they hadn't been there.
I'll try, but for tomorrow's and day after's events, like we've got information about the bike plan and like this specific feedback form at each welcoming station for Bike to Work Day, and it will be available at all the Light the Night events as well. It's just I will not particularly have a person asking people to
Accosting
take
them.
take the feedback, or give us the feedback. Now, we may do another event sometime in October. Maybe I'll just set up table at the quad and capture some feedback. But again, that depends on how many people respond to the public input form before that time.
And
Granted,
you can
yes.
ask us to probably help volunteer. I don't know if we can. I assume we could help.
Yes, and I will be sending it out to, I'll be sending individual emails as well. That's what I was saying. Like, once I have a little bit more, a little
Breathing room.
bit time, so maybe maybe on Friday or next week, I will be reaching out to all the stakeholders. So again, so far I've reached out only to people who have registered their bicycles and 2,500 students. We will be reaching out to Urbana, Champaign, Savoy, MTD, RPC, all the people who are part of the Campus Transportation Advisory Committee, so faculty, student, staff over there, then all the local bike clubs, anybody who's involved with bicycles. We'll also be reaching out to Ride Illinois, League of American Bicyclists, APBP, and things like that, just to get their, if they don't give us a feedback, that's fine, but they will at least know that this is something that's happening on campus here.
Yeah. And then different topic, bike parking on campus.
Yes.
I noticed around the instructional facility, you are, yeah, okay. And then another thing I laugh about is in front of the union, they put these 2 bike racks in the middle of the circle, no one ever uses them. And so I was just well, oh, that is dreamy. Oh my goodness. City staff around here is amazing. But thank you, Kevin. But I was going to say, that was just my only question is are you just I would just say heat mapping would be the word for it, but you're obviously not going to heat map bikes, see where people are using their bikes.
So Illini Union, that whole area is going to be like that for about 2 years. There is a roofing project going on at Illini Union, and with the Old Guildhall construction project, that whole area is going to be like that.
It's just more the bike parking is more my question. It's instructional facility. There's people are locking their bikes on trees and.
So with instructional facility, we are aware of the issue over there. We're trying to increase the capacity of bike parking, and we have identified a couple of one location at least where I can add more bike racks, but it's just when funding gets available to me for that particular area. And
What I was saying is you can take the 2 empty ones from the traffic circle. No, I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. Only if we could do that.
Are there other questions?
Oh,
For-
yeah, actually I have one.
sorry.
So I was just looking at the network on page 44,
Yes.
and I had a couple of questions. So one, it shows a shared use path on Florida Avenue. So the university is, on the right there. So the university would be covering the cost of the creation of that shared use path on Florida?
Could you repeat the question again?
Oh, it's I guess as background, I know there's a Florida Avenue study that was done, right? Maybe by the RPC. So I guess I wasn't aware that the university would be involved maybe in the creation of that shared use path.
This shared use path is going to be on the university property.
Okay.
So there is that ITIP grant that Urbana is currently working, this project is under design right now.
Okay.
So
I
once
see.
the construction is done, it will be ours.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm just curious about down in the bottom. I don't think I've ever been in that bottom
This
center
area?
square. What is that?
So this is This was identified in the campus landscape master plan. So this is the ACES trail, basically,
Okay.
legacy trail. The Embra River goes through here, and we are proposing, like with campus landscape master plan, it was proposed that we will install a shared use path that connects basically First Street over here to Race. And
So awesome.
yeah, so it's a project that's been identified in the landscape master plan. Again, it's going, it's on our radar. It's just, we'll see when it happens, but it will most likely happen. Yes.
So then on the bottom right, that would connect with Meadowbrook, is that right? The
So
far
over
bottom right?
here, it will connect over here, yes.
Yeah,
To, like,
okay,
go over
That's
to
great.
Meadowbrook,
yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
Not long ago, Rob Cantor, one of our best local naturalists, spotted a beaver dam on the Ember up in that quadrant you're looking at. There might be
Yeah.
discussions necessary with them as to how you,
I'm sure. I'm sure. And as I said, like, this is something that will require a lot of discussion with a lot of people over there.
And
On the
this
campus
is,
side, though, like, again, like, it was approved by the campus through landscape master plan. So,
but this is a 10-year vision.
yes. Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
I hope we'll get more input on this after
Yeah.
we get a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right,
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, and our next item is the Imagine Urbana Comprehensive Plan.
All right.
Yay. And I believe there already have been some presentations, and I believe, well, you'll be going over that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us this evening, and we're delighted to be at this point that we can share the first draft of the Imagine Urbana Comprehensive Plan with you. It's been a while since we've been in front of this committee, actually quite a while. I looked, I think it's 2 years. So the process has been going on for a while. So we'll give you some background just to kind of refresh your memory about how we got to this point, and then go through some of the points. You should have received, as part of being a commissioner, you should have received the initial release, which was on the 14th of August, and with the link on looking at the plan. And we've gotten quite a few comments from the public after that, and we're also doing our community meetings. So in front of you, you have a green flyer that has the community meeting dates on it. We have 4 left. There are 3 tomorrow, one at lunchtime at Ilias on Washington. We have one later in the evening at 6 o'clock at Tiger Academy, which is right across from the Urbana Middle School. And then we have one at the Public Library at 7 o'clock. And then on Thursday evening at 6 o'clock, we have one at St. Matthew's Lutheran Church on Filer Road. So just we've had 6 in total, and a lot of interaction. It's informal. People can drop in at any time, and they'll see maps. They'll see some poster boards, and staff is there to answer any questions and get feedback. So encourage everybody to look at that. So first of all, what is the Imagine Urbana Comprehensive Plan? It's our community's vision for what Urbana should look like over the next 20 years. The last time the plan was done was in 2005, so we're at that 20-year mark. It articulates overarching goals, which we're calling big ideas in the plan, if you've seen the plan, and strategic actions we're calling big moves and little moves, and that helps make our vision a reality. It serves as the city's primary long-range planning document, guiding the future development of the community. Kevin leads the planning department, and this is a most used or a much used document on that part, but what we're trying to do with the plan this time is really have it be impactful for all departments at the city so that they use that as a reference. So this is a map of flow map of the process. We started back in 2020. If you remember, we had a website with big ideas and a map where people could pin. We had an SMS survey that people could take. Anyway, a lot of interaction at community events, et cetera. And we had our first report that came out in October of 22 of that community engagement. Later, we had phase 2 engagement where we had what we would call the balancing act, where people had $100 to spend, and there was about probably $800 of projects to spend it on, and they had to prioritize based on the cost of those projects. So it became a difficult decision for many, and so they understand what the council has to go through when they make decisions like that. So then after that, we spent the time really gathering all that data and drafting the plan. So that's what you see before you. And we're now in the phase where we're getting public impact input on that. The Plan Commission is having study sessions at every one of their meetings. That started in August 20th. And so every meeting has a study session devoted to the plan. Eventually, they will then recommend it to the council for approval. And so then the council votes on it. So these are the reports. I already referred to the community outreach summary in October of 22. Before that, we did an assessment of the 2005 plan to see what we could learn from that, what worked, what didn't work, and how we can improve upon it. We also did Examine Urbana. That was released in 23. Examine Urbana is what in most plans is called existing conditions or present conditions. But we had a colleague, Kevin and I, one of our colleagues, Lily Wilcock, she had a capstone project for her master's at the University of Illinois, and she spent an inordinate amount of time creating this wonderful document that we use for a lot of purposes. There's a chapter called Development and Taxes that is helpful for everything, people to understand government. So it's a great read, and it's very interactive. So we're very proud of that and proud of Lily's work. We then did the balancing act I told you about. We did one in each ward, so we even compared ward to ward. We compared online versus in person. So that is available. All of these documents are in the appendices of the existing plan. And then now in August, we released the first draft. So this is the table of, table of contents. We start out with our vision and values. We have the background and the process. We cover what the big ideas are. Again, those are our goals. The big moves and little moves are our action steps. We have the master maps. Kevin has spent an inordinate amount of time on creating maps, and we're also using a U of I class that's helping with some of that as well. We'll be tracking our progress, and we have metrics assigned so that we are tracking how we're progressing, if we're actually implementing these different items, or if things have changed and they're no longer going to be implemented. So evaluation and reporting is very important. We're going to have ongoing updates to City Council. It'll mirror their goals, and then also we plan to have an update every 5 years of the plan. So this is how the big moves, big ideas kind of interrelate with each other. You see the big ideas across the top. Then we have big moves that sometimes fulfill one big idea, but they might fulfill 3 big ideas. And then the little moves, they're not listed here, but they're the smaller action steps that help us achieve that. And then, like I said, all the metrics tie into the big moves. So our big ideas, we have 4 of them, and it's hard to argue, I think, with agreeing with these goals, but Urbana is a place for everyone. And again, these are our aspirations. We feel like we do a good job of our vision, which is being a welcoming place for everyone. But one of our goals, Urbana is a place for everyone. Urbana is both financially and environmentally resilient. Urbana is a city of connected neighborhoods, and Urbana embraces its cultural vibrancy and character. So then that takes us to our big moves and little moves. I won't go through each one of these individually, but focusing on big move number 6, I think is what's important probably to this group, is making walkability the default setting. And I'm going to have Kevin just kind of elaborate a little more on what that means.
Yeah, I mean, just on a basic level, we shouldn't be doing things that do not increase walkability and bikeability and connectivity in general, but just being very explicit that we want to do things that are going to make Urbana more walkable. Just stating that outright and making that a reality. If you tune into Plan Commission meetings, you might see some back and forth that we'll be having with the plan commissioners about this one. I think they might think there needs to be a little more nuance in that, but that's what we have in the draft plan, and I like it.
Yeah. We wanted to be very obvious with that, and Kevin and I went back and forth, I think even I, on this title, and then we all agreed that, yes, this says it best, the best we think it can, that it's our default and everything should reflect that. So focusing on big move number 6, that is the handout in front of you, just so that you don't have to read the small print here. But continue to implement the 2020 pedestrian master plan and the 2016 bicycle master plan. Those are very critical plans that already exist, and so they will be part of this plan. Identify development regulations that don't support walkability and change them where appropriate. Use walkable city rules as a guide to make Urbana more walkable. Kevin, do you want to
Well, I'll just
chime in on that?
So, yeah, I'm sure some of you on this commission are familiar with Jeff Speck's Walkable City book, and which just celebrated its 10-year anniversary with a 100-page update to it. So I'd recommend you get that one if you're looking to purchase something from your local bookseller or perhaps an online bookseller, which will not be named. Also, walkable city rules. So it's kind of the walkable city is kind of, the why we should do walkable cities and the elements of walkable cities. But walkable city rules is sort of the guidebook for how to make that happen. And that one's even more accessible, even though the other one is an amazing read as well. So we wanted to call that out because it's a great guide, and just put that right in our plan so that we're very explicit about using that as a resource.
So continuing on, work with the community to identify personal and physical safety concerns that deter people from walking and develop measures to address them. And one of the things I want to mention is that this group, we really want to use you and get feedback from you and help us in implementing this plan, giving us that guidance, making sure that we're on track. Prioritizing staff time to focus on making streets and parking lots safer for people walking and biking. In our community input, we heard feedback several times about we have sidewalks, but how do you walk through a parking lot safely? So things like that some people don't automatically think of. Extending the Kickapoo Rail Trail through downtown Urbana, developing policies for traffic calming, expanding federal funding investment for public infrastructure in targeted low-income neighborhoods, and update brick sidewalk ordinance to prioritize safety and function of the city's sidewalks. And you notice we say update the ordinance. That doesn't mean that we're going to eliminate brick sidewalks or that we're going to repair them. It's really updating it and really getting feedback. And we're getting a lot of feedback right now on the brick sidewalks, on safety. So the associated big ideas, this is one that hits 3 of them. Urbana is a place for everyone, financially and environmentally resilient, and it's a city of connected neighborhoods. So big move number 6 that this group is going to be very involved with is very important. Leading that, typically we only have one lead for each of these big moves, but this one we really feel like there's 3 pillars that are going to be leading this effort: the Planning Division, Grants and Management, and Public Works Department, of course. And in the plan, one thing I didn't mention when we were going through the process is that once we got all the feedback from the 2 different engagements that we did with the community, city staff sat down and went through all of these comments and worked together in actually the drafting and the structure of the plan. So everybody was represented at the table. So this comes as no surprise to anybody that if you worked in the Grants Management Division, oh yeah, this is us, or Public Works. And then the partners would be partners in the community, the Plan Commission, of course, Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, the Park District, the Forest Preserve, the Railroad, Police Department. There's going to be a lot of partners that are going to help us make this happen. And so the draft rollout, just hopefully everybody, I don't have one with me. I did have one in my book here, but everyone should have received a postcard. We sent them out to over 21,000 households in Urbana. Just encouraging people to see if we got their feedback right, that we recorded it right in the plan. There was a QR code that they could scan, as well as the website, and then it had the upcoming meetings on it. So everybody got these well in advance of the start date of those meetings. And then we did the information release that all of you were on, went to commissions, our neighborhood contacts, stakeholders, the media, et cetera. We did digital advertising in Smile Politely. That's still going on this week, especially for the community engagement. We did they did an editorial for us, which was awesome. If you haven't seen it, we'd be glad to send a copy to so it could be distributed to the commission. We did print advertising. You know, some people read the newspaper versus some people do the online. So the digital advertising, we were also on that. We had a headline sponsorship. And then we sent flyers out to to council members to distribute, to neighborhood groups so that they could distribute them either electronically or the hard copies as well. Have them at the library, et cetera. So trying to get information out on these discussions. You see the two that are grayed out, those have already occurred. We had one at Vineyard and 25 o'clock, 4 upcoming that I already told you about where they're at. And then our timeline, the Plan Commission is, like I said, every one of their meetings is having a study session. We've got the neighborhood meetings that are completed as the end of Thursday. We've been to the other commissions. We've already been to Arts and Culture, now BPAC. We still have the Sustainability Advisory Committee and also the Community Development Commission are coming up. Then it'll go to the council. This is very tentative timeline because it's really going to depend how many study sessions we need at the Plan Commission, but eventually it'll go to the Committee of the Whole and then ultimately to City Council for adoption. So the next thing, here's the QR code if anybody wants to scan it, but I'd like Kevin to really talk about the maps. When we first released the draft, the maps weren't included. They are there now, and at the different community meetings, you'll see hard copies of those, large copies, so that you can look at them and make comments. Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, so the idea is to sort of have one map to rule them all, if you're a fan of Sauron. So we've got that online. It's in draft form, but essentially that's going to include. Yeah, I think that's a safe link, or maybe not. Yeah, it's not a safe link. I'll describe it to you. So that map is you can comment on the map as well, but right now it shows the draft future land use designations for every area of the city. There are some targeted areas in there that we will be focusing future planning efforts on. There's also future connections, so that includes bike connections that are already, so we carried over projects from the bicycle master plan, from the pedestrian master plan. Also, we carried over some street projects from the draft long-range transportation plan that RPC is putting together right now, and from our current plan. Actually, those sort of kind of fit together. But so we've got the connections in there. And so that is, eventually that's going to be a tool that we planners will use on a day-to-day basis. But also we envision it as just being a resource for regular folks as well. So that is the master map in a nutshell. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
So yeah, I'm curious, and sorry I haven't looked at this in advance, about the big idea for downtown. So I remember there had been some discussion about the parking garage, and then also maybe some of the parking lots around the mall, and maybe changing some of those spaces. Is that a part of this, or? It
is, yeah. One of the little moves under the big move for number 4 of strengthening downtown. One of the little moves is to implement recommendations from what's called our downtown public realm study. So that's what you're referring to. So yeah, that's in there.
how would this play into like very specific actions? For example, if we wanted to make walkability the default setting by making parking lots much more pedestrian friendly, how would we get a requirement that, say, an H-Mart would have a pathway, would have bike parking near the entrance, would have a pathway from the bus stop there, that people could feel comfortable walking through that very large parking lot
Right.
to get to H-Mart. So exactly how would this inform that kind of change in the zoning or the ordinances?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think you're going down the right path there. So essentially, the comprehensive plan is sort of our policy document, and then once you have a policy document, it's only as good as your regulatory documents. So we would need to make changes to probably the zoning ordinance and the land development code that would really codify the idea that we should be making walkability the default setting. So in those regulatory documents, that's where we would have sort of those requirements or options for folks to use who are developing or redeveloping land. So the plan itself isn't going to do that other than, until we are able to make those changes to those regulatory documents, we can still point to the plan once it's adopted and say, look, this is in our master plan. You should really do this. But it's incumbent upon staff to actually make those and council to make those regulatory changes.
And activists who might bring it to council's attention.
Correct. One thing that we learned, which many cities probably learn when they evaluate their existing plans and see what we've done, what we could do better. Our current plan from 2005, it's kind of dated, but it has a lot of great stuff in there, but a lot of great stuff that just didn't get implemented. So implementation is going to be key. So saying walkability is the default setting is great, but until you implement it, it's just words in a plan.
I'm wondering if there will be any zoning recommendations, because what I've noticed in maybe the last 3 or 4 years, there have been many apartment complexes built on busy streets, and they seem to have been given easements, so they're walking by them on a busy street is so unpleasant. Mm-hmm. That I wonder if there will be, and so I would call them pedestrian unfriendly, really. And I am just wondering if there will be any zoning recommendations for, not giving easements to those kind of complexes.
Well, the plan wouldn't get that specific, but the plan does, one of their big move, number 2, is to revise the zoning ordinance to align with Imagine Urbana. So, because we recognize that our zoning ordinance is not very good, we need to rewrite it, and that will be the next big project that we take on after we adopt this plan. But when we're updating the zoning ordinance, that would be a good place to make changes like that. I think I just had a senior moment, and I'm not a senior yet. Close, not that close, but anyway. Yeah, I was thinking of one other thing. Oh, another thing is that the plan, I guess so. Comprehensive plans have our future land use map, and I just want to let everybody here and everybody at home who's listening just be clear that the future land use map in the plan is, again, it's a policy recommendation. So I think a lot of the future land use map looks a lot like our zoning map, but the two are separate. The zoning map actually has authority. One thing we learned from our current plan is the future land use map says this. I'm just going to wave my hand like this. For many areas, it says certain things, and then we didn't follow up with any sort of zoning action. One good example is the whole northeastern part of the city. Well, a lot of it's still in the county, but we identified that as rural residential. We didn't at the time, and we still don't have a rural residential zoning district, so we never implemented that bit, which essentially said, create this new zoning district with these new regulations. we didn't do that. So when we have our new master map, which includes the future land uses on it, that will guide us when we rewrite the zoning ordinance to sort of let us know what types of zones should be in each different area.
I have another question. I heard that Urbana might have mandatory parking minimums. Is that true? And do we have any plans to address that? That might be a controversial question.
Yeah, I think you could substitute Urbana with the phrase most places in America.
Well, I think I heard
Yeah.
that Champaign got rid of them. Is that right?
I don't think they've gotten rid of them completely.
Okay.
In certain sections, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in certain places they have. We long ago, in this early 2000s, we got rid of our parking requirements downtown. So most of the good stuff that's happened downtown in the last 20 years wouldn't have been possible if you had to meet our minimum parking requirements. So I'll just throw that out there as a true statement, because it is. We think it's a good idea to explore. We haven't, I don't believe we've put that in this plan, but it's definitely a topic a hot topic for future, hopefully near future discussion. But I appreciate the question.
Yeah, if there's any way we can support that, please let us know.
Okay, thanks.
Well, we were getting feedback now. We had a RFP that was released for Illinois Street. Some of the feedback we got from developers there, it's really what the market demands when it comes to parking at apartments. I mean, they know what their minimum has to be to lease them. And they, of course, don't want to have any more than that than necessary, just because of the cost for having parking, additional land for parking. But we're seeing that, the market is going to dictate what you really need for different developments, or else they won't be able to lease them or attract their customers.
So we wouldn't need to have regulations because the market would regulate it.
That's in an ideal world.
Yeah.
So there's an
Yeah.
argument to be made that we can encourage people to move into places without parking, or they might not have thought of doing that otherwise.
And it also makes it better for the developers, because the developers aren't building empty spaces for people that don't have cars. And also they have found if they build parking, people are like, well, I guess I should get a car, which adds more wear and tear to our streets, which adds more people driving on our streets. It's not ideal. And as a person who has rented most of her life and had to pay for empty parking spots, because
It's there,
those could have been apartments, they could have been apartments, and that would bring down the cost of rent. And we need more people living in Urbana, and we need more spaces for people to live in Urbana, and we're not going to get that if we keep building parking. I do have a question. It's kind of about the parking minimums, but so with H Mart, that is a massive parking lot. Does H Mart, I don't know if we need to get in the weeds on this question too much, but like if H Mart owns that entire piece of property and they wanted to build condos on the edge of it, is that like a zone? Would that be a thing that could happen? Because I know like those massive parking lots like out at Walmart and Walmart. I'll just stick with Walmart. They build them for Thanksgiving Day, the day after Thanksgiving parking. I mean, it's complete nonsense. Not based on science, not based on fact. And obviously, when you look at that H Mart parking lot, it's just, I mean, it's got to cost them so much money to be sitting on that massive empty space. They could monetize it, and we could bring in more tax dollars if they could build places for people to live. But I don't know, obviously, much about this question.
We have talked with H Mart, and yes, that parking lot is large, and they know it. They said they'd like to see, just what the demand is here. This is a new community for them, and thank you for bringing up H Mart, both Audrey and Annie, for that. It's going to be a big deal for us. We're really excited, and they're going to be great great partners in the community. We've already talked about the Kickapoo Rail Trail possibly going by them, and that was very exciting for them. There is a bus shelter there that's already been mentioned, and so they're going to upgrade that. That is being updated by MTD. February, there'll be a new shelter there that's more modern instead of the 60s or 70s version that's there. But to address your question about parking, we have talked with them about that would they be interested at some point down the road, yes, making apartments or selling that off or whatever, but they're new to the community. They want to get this store open. That's their priority right now. And so they said that they would be interested in, discussions down the road, but that's all they would be right now. We can't predict anything, but they're very receptive. They want to be great community partners. And so I think we're delighted to have them.
On big move number 4, this committee about 2 years ago sent forward a resolution to the council to seriously consider taking some of these massive open parking areas we've got and develop a pavilions, open air sheds, other kinds of roof facilities, simple but attractive, not only to support the farmers market, which is a major weekend asset, but also to provide special event space. Is that kind of thinking still in the mix?
Yeah, it is still in the mix, and that's one thing that was identified during the public realm study as well. We lack a sort of we lack a lot of just community space in general downtown.
Gathering space.
Yeah, but we also lack sort of something, a larger facility like that. So it's definitely still in the mix.
Is there a walk-up business category? Because many, many years ago, in an earlier council, planning shot down a possible zoning change for a church on Lincoln Avenue, and so it was bought by the university and disappeared from Urbana's tax rolls forever. They said, we don't have room for parking there. So that's an obvious walk-up kind of business location. Is there a kind of a walk-up category envisioned, walk-up business category that would have very limited or no parking requirements?
That's sort of what downtown allows right now, and I'd say a lot of downtown businesses are sort of just walk-up businesses. I've never heard it described that way as a walk-up business category.
Well, you have a mixed-use development theme going on, I think, and that's what I think of when I think of mixed use. I think of businesses you could walk up to or bike up to, like bike shops or,
Yeah, so I don't know that we would need a specific category for it. If we made other changes, like, say in the future we got rid of minimum parking requirements and somebody wanted to put a business somewhere, they could certainly design it as just a walk-up business.
Wouldn't be appropriate for all business types.
I think that's again, I think that the market is going to drive some of that.
Uh-huh.
For now, like restaurants are, they've been in upheaval since COVID. People learned that they liked eating at home and ordering ahead and delivering at home. So you're seeing restaurants change as far as their indoor dining. We've been working with a franchise that has interest in coming to Urbana, and it's more of an urban look where they do have a walk-up, and then there's a drive-in lane, but you don't order at the drive-in. You order ahead, and you just pick up through the drive-in. So it's more of an urban feel, not as much, again, parking, because they're not going to have that indoor dining, not as much indoor dining. It's going to be driven from, the urban setting where you walk up, get your order, or you drive up and pick up your order. So I think things are going to change just, based on the market conditions now.
I have one question about the Civic Center. Is that addressed in this plan at all? Or is there a general plan for what will happen to that?
The general plan for the Civic Center is that MTD is going to put a transit center where the Civic Center is. Because that's been identified for a long time as a need downtown, because sort of treating the 1980s era parking garage as your transit center is not really optimal. So that's in the works for them. I don't know how many years away it is, but it's not too far away.
And they've described it as similar to Champagne's Transit Center on a smaller scale. So we're hopeful that some of these things about getting some community space might be at that type of facility. But all of that's yet to be determined, and certainly not by Kevin and I.
Yeah, but you could imagine 3 years from now pulling up to the transit center right there and going to Black Dog and getting some barbecue.
And walking to H Mart.
And I'd also like to add, I think it's something people don't think about. The folks that drive those big buses need bathrooms. So if you're always wondering why there's a giant porta-john taking up a parking space, they're humans and they have jobs and they need to go to the bathroom like everybody else. So I just want to encourage us to really support a really nice transit station for folks to meet up. I do have one question about walkability. I don't know if you're able to articulate what the concerns people have about walkability. I just know, like, for me, walkability is incredibly important for when I choose where to live and how to live. And I know other people are upset when they realize they've bought property in a space that's not walkable or connected. And I do know it brings value to properties to have walkable communities. And the city itself is 12 square miles. So that's not very big. We should be able to have it be connected and walkable all of our neighborhoods. So I'm just curious if you're able to articulate or if you've heard concerns about that, or.
I don't ever like speaking for other folks. But I think that's still a conversation we're going to have, and we're actually planning to have it very soon at the Plan Commission study session. But I will take this opportunity, because I have a microphone, to state that essentially the way we've done things, not just in Urbana, but most places, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here, is I would argue that we've made drivability the default setting for 60, 70 years. So I think making this statement is making a statement, and I'll leave it at that.
And I mean, I can just add in, my parents are now at an age where they're realizing the drivability that I have been trying to explain to them is not going to help them, is really hurting them at this point. They have to pay somebody to come to their house to drive them places. And that's not okay. Like, you want to feel independent at that, at any age. You want to feel like you can still, walk to where you need to go and what you need to do. So it's very important for a healthy community.
What is incremental development?
It's kind of like walkability in that we haven't actually defined it too much in the plan. But incremental development is sort of this concept, and we're working to come up with better definitions and more so people understand it better. But essentially, it's sort of filling in gaps, making small. It's kind of smaller scale development, no matter where you are, and it's kind of things that, say you've got a residential neighborhood with mostly detached housing. An incremental development thing to do would be adding a duplex here or there, maybe adding a 3-unit building somewhere. Not adding a 10-story building, because that would be sort of out of scale for what you've got going on there. Incremental development in a downtown area might be something, in downtown Urbana, that might be a 3 or 4-story mixed-use building. So it kind of matters on the context that you're in, but it's sort of adding just a little bit more, I don't want to say density, so I'll say intensity, to really sort of thicken up a neighborhood and make it more, make it, a little stronger, a little more vibrant, but not doing dramatic changes. So,
No Disney World.
But it fits with
No
the
Disney
character. It would
Worlds.
fit with the character of the neighborhood. You wouldn't be
Right.
And also, like, so would it be something like, say, your mom you want your mom to live, I don't want my mom to live with me, but let's say you want your mom to live with you, love her, but would it be like building like a little one-bedroom house in your backyard and having that be allowable?
Right. Yeah. That's exactly it. But it's not building a 4-story, 6-unit building in your backyard, unless your neighborhood's super dense.
I have several 6-unit apartments in my backyard, so don't knock it.
All right, Audrey is going to be the first person to come in with a 6-story unit in her backyard. So
Well,
just
I
be
actually
prepared,
thought,
Kevin.
that my house, the corner house, and the one next to it could be a 3-story, 6-unit. But we're housing 18 people right now, so I don't know if that would increase that much.
I was just going to add, Strong Towns, if you're familiar with them, they write a lot about incremental development. So, yep.
They do, and thanks for bringing that up. I don't want to be a secret Strong Towns reader. I definitely read a lot of Strong Town stuff. So one concept that Strong Towns has is, and this goes along with incremental development, is that no neighborhood should be immune to change, but no neighborhood should be subject to dramatic change. So it's sort of the idea of, letting things change, but not in this way that's going to really, cause chaos and destroy the neighborhood.
And I can add into that, like, that's the Jane Jacobs thinking. When Jane Jacobs, again, we're all dorking out over books here, so let's just go for it. The Life and Death of the Great American City. And the thing that Jane really talked about, and again, as spent most of my life renting, I was always looking for cheap rent. And the only way you're going to get cheap rent is if you have brand new developments coming in, and then you have developments that were maybe built 10, 20 years later, and then you have developments that were built long before then, and that's where I would get my rental units, because those people have already paid off their mortgages, so they're going to have cheaper rent. Meanwhile, you're going to have these other things. So you want a healthy city, has a wide variety of housing stock, has a wide variety of age in that housing stock. And that's really what you're aiming for, because if one part, it's like any sort of system, if one part of that system fails, you want to be able to make sure that these other parts are supporting it. So I really love that Strong Towns quote about no neighborhood should be immune from change, but no neighborhood should have dramatic change. And I think right now, if we all think about like certain neighborhoods in our city that did go through dramatic change, it is all the exact same stock of house, and it's all the exact same housing, and that does not create the most healthy environment.
Revise the zoning ordinance to align with Imagine Urbana. Is that a work item on your plate right now, or do you guys revise the zoning ordinance routinely?
We incrementally revise the zoning ordinance, but after we adopt this new plan, we think there's enough in it that we should most likely rewrite the entire zoning ordinance. There's some good stuff in there, so I'm sure we'd go through a process and keep certain things, but if you're aligned with the other 10 big moves and the big ideas that are in this plan, you don't get there with our current zoning ordinance. And if you did, we might not be writing this plan. Then stuff might have happened already.
And it's not to say that you haven't amended or changed zoning ordinances, because sometimes you just can't wait. I mean, we can't wait for the Imagine Urbana plan to be finished. In fact, the Plan Commission has just changed a zoning ordinance just last meeting, 2 meetings ago. So it's not that the staff has just been sitting on them and waiting. Sometimes you just have to make changes because it's just necessitated. But.
Well, it sounds to me like you'd need more staff, and would a bike ped coordinator be part of that new staff that you might need to acquire for that task?
I do not know.
Well, we really appreciate all your questions, and please, we take a moment and look at the plan online. You can comment online. We've gotten many very useful comments, and Kevin and I will be going through those once we get to a certain point where we feel like people have had that opportunity, and go through those and make sure that if it's not addressed, to include the things that need to be addressed that we've left out of the plan. That's what the purpose of this is did we get it right? And people are telling us, yeah, in many cases we did, but there's things that we can still improve upon, so we appreciate that.
It was a strong, cogent presentation and very helpful for us, too. So thank you.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much for
Okay,
coming.
thank
I'm
you.
really going to encourage everyone, you can easily just sit and read the whole plan. It is fantastic. They're going to tell, it's an easy read. Yeah,
I think you read it on your phone, didn't you?
I just sat in that chair and read it.
She did.
Someone made a beautiful PDF printout of it. But it's easy to read. You're going to see some great data about households. You're going to see great data about the ages of the people in our community. You're going to, it's just really well considered, and it really sets us up, I believe, looks at what I would call your pinch points in a community. The corporate word is pinch points, and what we need so we can move ourselves forward. I'm just thank you guys. This is just absolutely fantastic, and I really look forward to the implementation of it.
Me too. Thanks.
And thank you for taking time to read it. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Kevin and I directly. Call us with anything. We just want your feedback. We want to hear from you, good and the bad. So.
Examine Urbana is officially part of the comp plan, or yes?
Yes, it is.
It is, okay.
Like I said, in other plans, you'll hear it called present conditions or existing conditions. We call it Examine Urbana because it's truly an examination of how we got to where we are today and what our town looks like today and why. So.
Thanks again.
Thank you. And I do have some PDFs if anybody wants a PDF copy to take with you. I've got some here.
Nerd hats over here, please.
Yeah.
The appendices.
Sure. Right, I saw that.
That must be one thing I read. I think I read that.
Yeah, because it's going to be the data.
I read the big PDF.
Right, it's going to be the data.
Okay, then, do you have any report that you want to give, Carmen?
I do have project updates, but first I have to go back to our Safe Streets for All item because I messed something up earlier.
Oh,
John
sure.
gave me instruction that we should read the minutes from the last meeting since there wasn't a quorum before we can have a vote on it. So I'm just going to read the minutes and then we'll have the vote again and then we can move on. If that's
I think
good.
isn't it the specific element, the SS4A, not the entire minutes?
No,
I think.
just not
Yeah,
the whole
okay,
minutes. No,
yeah,
just
sure.
that item.
Okay.
So, okay. Annie thanked Nancy Westcott, Bruce Mickelson, and Audrey Ishii for their help in writing the letter to the mayor and city council. Annie read through the letter. After some discussion, number 5, test Washington Bikeway under examples would be taken out of the letter. Sartug suggested including the intersections of Vine in Pennsylvania and Vine in Michigan under examples. Okay, I think we can move to.
Yes, do you want to go ahead and read the minutes for the section that we're going into next? It was D1.
Sure. Oh. About the Kickapoo Rail Trail? We need to read that one too? Oh, sure, okay. Annie Adams rode her bike to the Kickapoo Rail Trail this past weekend and cars were behaving badly, speeding, etc. She brought up that maybe there is something the BPAC could do to figure out how to make the route to the trail safer for pedestrians. The area of most concern is where there is no bike lane. Suggestions were for a road diet or changing signage. Nancy said this is another good reason for license plate readers. Just number one? Okay.
Thank you. So out of that came the need for this agenda item that we're going to cover next. In your packet, on the backside of the last page of illustrations from the SS4A grant, is this resolution
Oh,
that...
sorry, I did have project updates that I was going to share
I'm
with all. And I think we need to move to submit the letter
Could you come over
again.
here to give them?
We need to vote on submitting the letter again.
Right, we need to have the vote on submitting the letter again.
Oh,
That was why I reread the minutes.
Right.
Sorry for
I
the
move
confusion.
again that we submit the letter again.
I second that motion in Robert's Rules of Order. So take
Just
the
want to
vote.
make sure I'm doing it.
Um, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Annie.
All right, project updates.
Okay, I'll do them from here if that's okay. So I don't have any slides to show you. I just have a list from John and one of my projects. Okay. Oh, so first announcement that I'm going to be transitioning into this role on BPAC from John. I won't be here next month. Might be here in November, but I will try to be here consistently after that. The EQL sidewalk locations are under construction. Philo Road segment is under construction now. Church Street path is nearly completed. The remaining locations are constructed and sod is being placed starting next week. Interrupt me at any time, otherwise I'm just gonna go down the list of projects. EQL streetlights, for the construction contract, bids were opened on September 6th, and the contract is being awarded to Champaign Signal and Lighting, CSNL. This contract includes all EQL locations except for Florida Avenue. Florida Avenue will be on a separate contract because it is not eligible for the CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant funding, which is being used to supplement the EQL budget. After a budget amendment is passed in late September, the city will order lights and poles directly from a supplier for CSNL to install. There's a 16-week lead time expected for the pole fabrication. Florida Avenue EQL streetlights will require a budget amendment before going to bid or ordering materials, since the costs of streetlight materials have increased more than was anticipated. The ITEP projects, the Florida Avenue one was brought up earlier. So these are the Florida Avenue and Baker's Lane paths are under design right now. The city plans to present the preliminary design for the Florida Avenue shared use path at the October 15th BPAC meeting, so next month, and invite adjacent residents and property owners to attend the meeting and provide comment. The city plans to present the preliminary design for Baker's Lane shared use path at BPAC's December 17th meeting, and invite adjacent residents and property owners to attend that meeting and provide comment. Lincoln Avenue corridor study, our consultant Lockmuller is finalizing the plans right now. They'll have those completed by October 4th. Then RPC is going to post that on the website for a 30-day public comment period, so starting in approximately mid-October. And then they'll be presenting that study to City Council on November 12th. The Long-Range Transportation Plan 2050, RPC will present this complete draft to the Plan Commission on Thursday, October 17th at 7 p.m. All members of BPAC and the Sustainability Advisory Commission are invited to attend the meeting and hear the presentation and ask questions. The city will notice that a quorum of BPAC and Sustainability Advisory Commission may be present at the meeting in compliance with OMA. No formal action will be taken by BPAC or the SAC at that meeting. RPC will present the complete draft of the long-range transportation plan to City Council on November 12th, along with the Lincoln Avenue corridor study presentation. That's all I've got.
That's a lot.
Thank you very much. That's great.
I do have a quick question for the, do you know what kind of lighting is going to be, or what the lighting is going to be like
I
on the
second that
streets?
question.
For
The EQL
the EQL
project?
streetlights,
Yeah.
I believe those are the pedestrian lighting, so they're the 12-foot poles. That's all I've got.
So they're not like those weird, ugly,
No, the mast arm ones, that's
oh,
for.
wonderful.
I don't believe so, but I am not 100%
Don has been
sure.
evasive. He has been evasive. I have asked him before.
Okay, well, I can't speak with 100% certainty, but I thought that they were the pedestrian lights that,
So are those the round globe ones?
no, I believe they would be, what are we calling those? They look like, there's some in East Urbana and in downtown, I forget the name for them, but they have the cover on the top, so they're,
Dark sky, yeah, that's what I was.
yes, there would be a cutoff, like, it's not 100%, it might not be 100% cutoff, but it's near 100% cutoff. And I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name for that type of,
Full cutoff or partial cutoff.
yeah, I'm trying to think of the
Well,
name of the actual structure.
the first street path has
Oh,
those
lantern
beautiful. Yeah.
style.
Oh,
That's one thing.
yeah.
But again, not 100% certain, don't
Yeah,
you?
the First Street path lighting is beautiful. It really is.
I can testify that the sidewalks that are being installed right now on Silver Street from Cottage Grove to Philo are going at a pace. They're handsome, and they should make a big difference in terms of keeping kids out of the street as they migrate to Yankee Ridge School or other locations. Looks like a big improvement.
Is there talk of another round of EQL projects?
Yes, that is, we're planning that right now, yes.
Okay, and on the East Main resolution, she read the minutes from last time. We had a discussion on this, and I just want to bring up this picture, which I know you guys can't see, but when you look and examine Urbana under transportation, they demonstrated a walkability problem. And that's on East Main Street. He's near the spur where it turns towards Kickapoo Rail Trail and continues, if you go straight to Pfeiffer Road. He's on a small lane there, but there's no sidewalk. He's walking under terrible conditions, and they actually have this in Examine Urbana. So we, most of us are familiar, with the East Main Street conditions, I believe. So in January 2021, a person died after alighting from a bus, and the bus had gone on. She wasn't hit by the bus, and she was crossing the street from north to south in that neighborhood there. Dewey Street or Dewey Lane was the junction. And we talked about what could be done about that, and one of the things that came out of that was the KRT connectivity study. We really wanted to see maybe it made us look at that study again and look at the options of having a side path instead of just focusing on the continuation of the Norfolk Rail Trail there. And we kind of voted on that, and Bill Brown presented that to council as just an informative comment. The other thing that he did was do some research on speed limits and talk about it a little bit. And he showed the way the current city ordinance works, which is that any deviation from statutory speed limits, which is the state statutory speed limit for business and residential districts, is 30 miles an hour. Any deviations need to be passed by a ordinance by the city council after they usually get that as a recommendation from Traffic Commission. And then they pass an ordinance in order to create a special speed zone. And they've done that, I can't remember what year exactly, they went back and cleaned up what ordinances they had. They created a new ordinance. They said it supersedes all previous ordinances. And they have a Schedule A, which is your next page there, which represents those deviations that increase the speed limit. there's a separate table that I'm not going to go into tonight for decreases from the speed limit under, school zones, university zones, and so on are the usual causes, but there's a few others. And so those speed limits that have no ordinance, if you look at that table, I guess maybe I should turn to that. And the other item you have is just an excerpt explaining some of those items. It's just an excerpt from this discussion. If you look on that table, you'll see for Main Street, it says that this table says that it has a speed ordinance, or that it's 35 miles per hour, but there's no actual ordinance for that. Okay, so it should be 30 miles an hour. And actually, there are a few other cases of this where it says 35 here, but it's currently either not signed or signed at 30. One of them is on Vine Street. To my shock, Vine from Main to University Avenue is officially 35. They haven't put a sign for 35 there. It's officially, in this table, says 35, but there is no ordinance for that. So what appears to happen is, at a particular date, 4/15/2019, someone posted up a new table, just picking up these things that had been omitted earlier. And they they apparently, it looked like, and here's what Bill said when he made his presentation on speeds, maybe they just didn't find it or forgot or something. Actually, the former city clerk went back and looked, and there are no ordinances for these that state there's no ordinance. So there doesn't seem to be, it may have been grandfathered in, quite likely was, from a speed emphasizing old school engineer from way back, way back. Current staff completely accepted from this discussion. And maybe just justification was, let's put it in the schedule, but you really can't do that if you don't have an ordinance for it in the schedule. So for Main Street, which is currently signed at 35, and it's represented in this schedule, but there is no ordinance for it. It would be simply a matter of saying, okay, there's no ordinance, we'll change the signage to 30. And it's an insane location, as we all know, to be 35. I mean, the road actually narrows. It goes around a blind curve.
What's the possibility of 25?
That is on the resolution as a future action. To make it 25 would mean an ordinance to put it on Schedule Q, which is those speed zones that are below the statutory limit. So there would have to be an ordinance passed for that. And so part of our resolution is to urge that happen, but that can't happen immediately, whereas changing it to 30 can happen immediately. And in fact, in some of these cases, which I'm not going to go into in detail, apparently it already has, because it's 35 here, and yet it's either not signed or signed at 30. So it's something that's entirely doable. But reducing it would require taking it to Traffic Commission agreeing that it's justified and making a recommendation to City Council. Of course, it's possible to disagree with Traffic Commission, but that would be the best way.
And I wonder, and just for review, the folks that live along that stretch of road, are they Urbana residents, or are they... Were they like some, is it like a?
No, some of them are. It's a very strange little patchwork. Some of the areas are Urbana, but most of it is not Urbana. Most of them are, they pay the county taxes and the township taxes, but they aren't part of Urbana.
Because I, of course, wonder if we couldn't collect signatures from the residents that live there, because they use it as a walk. They use that. One of the main arguments I would make for a 25 mile per hour path is 25 mile per hour street is people that live there use it as a walking path to get to Walmart and to get to the KRT, and it's currently our only connectivity to the KRT. So cyclists and small children are also trying to use that road. So it's kind of, it's trying to, that road at the current speed limit is trying to do, it's the wrong thing. So it's kind of long past due getting an update.
For the 25 mile per hour, yeah, you probably could attempt to get, I have talked to people there who have told me that they're not happy with the cars flying by. But I don't know that that's really necessary. If you look at this resolution, it states for very good reasons why this should be a 25 mile per hour zone. And just to keep from being confusing, I didn't bring Schedule Q for us to look at it, but there's very few 25 mile per hour zones. There's one at the Prairie Winds, or that community, the elderly senior housing community, and there's another one near Crystal Lake Park. Other than that, it's all University District, I believe. But justification can be found, and in this case, of course, it's lack of sidewalks, as exemplified with a photo in Examiner-Urbana. Inadequate lighting, which probably contributed to the death of Tonya Barnett, and heavy pedestrian traffic is implied by the presence of 4 bus stops within that small road segment, a Walmart and Aldi's adjacent, and then the fact that it's a bicycle route from Weaver Park to the Kickapoo Rail Trail. So I think an argument can be made without having to go and collect signatures door to door, which would be a difficult undertaking, though I agree that it would be easy to get the signatures with very few complaints. I mean, this is a typical pattern that the residents want one thing. Those finding it a handy ticket to their commute home want something else. Well, but it is very typical for residents to.
It is the only way to get to the Kickapoo Rail Trail. There is no other way to get there. Like, trust me, I've tried figuring out ways to not be on there. And right now, it's literally the only way to get to the Kickapoo Rail Trail on your bike. You have to ride in that road, and it's terrible.
You could go on Pfeiffer and then cut across the field. However, Pfeiffer is also 35 miles per hour through an equally strange lack of ordinance. Yeah. Anyway, I think this was 2021. We had a discussion. We left it at that. I think it's high time we have a resolution. This is kind of a no-brainer, since there is not even an ordinance that made this a special speed zone to 35. It may have been somewhat grandfathered in from when the city took it over from the county. Perhaps that's what it is, and it would be up to legal to decide if, it's legal because it's grandfathered in, but it seems highly unlikely, even without an ordinance. I mean, I believe that they would need an ordinance. And also there are the example which Charlie Smythe has transmitted to John Zeman. There are other examples where it says 35, but it really is 30, and that's what it is on the ground.
So is the next process to have Bruce wordsmith for us something lovely? This was in the packet. This could be voted on tonight. We don't need to go on for 5 months unless we really think it's important.
I'm going to say I can't support it yet because we haven't done an internal review of this yet. So we'd like some of our engineers to take a look at this. It's on their plate right now. We just haven't had a chance to dive into this yet. So without doing that review, I wouldn't be able to support the resolution. But it's exactly like you said. We would review it. If we support it, it would move to traffic council. We get police buy-in. We'll go to council next.
Well, I do think that the role of BPAC is to urge putting it on a higher plate. and it's been, this information's been out there for a while, so it seems like bringing public attention to it is a good idea. If you wish to wordsmith it, though, you're welcome to do it right now, right here.
I was also
and then we could vote on it.
I was going to add in the other suggestion we made years ago about this was there's something called a rural road treatment. And this street would fit that rural road treatment. And what it is you have bike and pedestrian facilities on either side of the road, and the cars in the middle, because of the reduced speed limit, negotiate that shared space. So that's the other, if we wanted to get on-road bike and pedestrian facilities in these dangerous spaces, that would be the solution.
So Audrey, the resolution you'd like to see us entertain and pass is what's on the screen right here.
Right.
As
And
is.
if you wish, we could put it off. You know, it's certainly on Public Works radar now anyway. So we could put it off if we want to do a little bit more wordsmithing. We can wordsmith it right now and pass it, or what's the time? I'm sorry.
I think it looks pretty good to me. Let's see what happens. I move we pass the resolution as written.
One quick comment, you've got number 4 twice.
Typo.
It's an
Oh,
easy
there's
fix.
actually 5 reasons. My goodness. Okay. Thanks.
With
We
that
will.
friendly
We need to
amendment,
correct
then.
that.
Okay. I
There's
move
5
we,
reasons. There's actually even a 6th reason, which is that if you continue to Pfeiffer, the speed suddenly drops from 35 to 15 around the corner.
Don't
So, which
complicate
is a dramatic change that's
You've said
really
the time is
frowned
of
on.
the essence. I'm taking you seriously, Audrey. So I move with that change of 4 to 5 that we pass the resolution as written.
Second? Do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah, nay.
One opposed? Okay.
We're
All right.
okay.
All right, that carries. The next item on the agenda is, and we did the next item there. So announcements.
All right, everyone.
Announcements.
Tomorrow is Bike to Work Day, for which I have to be at work at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Fun. Yeah. Bike to Work Day is tomorrow from 7 to 10 a.m. There are 16 welcoming stations across Champaign County, 8 on campus. So we'll be, like, if you have signed up or registered to attend Bike to Work Day, we'll see you tomorrow. If you haven't yet, there's still time. You can still register. Just go to cubikemonth.org and register for Bike to Work Day. We also have Light the Night event at 3 campus locations, Alma Mater, Helene Gateway, and Iconberry Commons quad area, where we will be installing bike lights for free and this event is also available to everybody, campus community, adults and kids, like people from of all ages are welcome.
So if you ride up with your bike and they
You
put
need
a
to
light
have
on
your
it.
bicycle with you. We are not going to hand out a bike light.
They will
We will be
install them on the bike.
installing it on the spot. So Light the Night event is on Thursday, September 19th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I still need a few more volunteers. So if anybody is interested, whoever is listening, please volunteer. We need more people.
Do you need it for both events?
Not for Bike to Work Day as much, but for Light the Night, we do need a lot more people just because like it's a lot more hands-on event.
And it
where
looks
you
like
need to
beautiful
have
weather.
It will be a nice day to be outside. Other than that, I already talked about the campus bike plan update and the public input that's already in process now. So looking forward to receiving some feedback from everybody.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I did want to say, I've said this during a previous meeting, I don't know if you heard Sarah talk, but I really appreciate the newly paved surfaces on Goodwin and Gregory. They're very nice.
Thank you.
I really appreciate all the white striping all over campus. It's wonderful.
Okay, future topics. Again, I'll put a call out later, but if you've thought of something right now.
I'm just going to ask that we keep in mind the evolving situation with the lithium-ion batteries as they're widely adopted with varying degrees of safety and promise in EV transportation. John Zeman and I have gone back and forth about a discussion down the road with a qualified electrical engineer who understands what's going on and what is coming for good or ill with regard to these things, and also with the fire department. So I just, people, keep aware, will you? I mean, you listen to the reports, you know, and see, because it's a fascinating, important development in how we get around and what kind of price we're going to pay as we inevitably pay prices for certain changes in transportation. That's kind of a big scale thing I'm just hoping we think about. The other thing that's just occurred to me a couple of days ago, if anybody's concerned about seems like the increasing habit of loitering, standing, panhandling on very narrow median dividers and very busy intersections. It's not the panhandling itself, it's whether somebody's going to come around a corner with a wide load and injure one of these people. I'm thinking that in Urbana, I've only seen one flagrant instance, which is at 5 Points in the middle of the street there. I mean, on the divider. Champaign has more incidences, North Prospect and the corner of Neal and Kirby, and sometimes, Neal and Kirby, and sometimes down at Windsor and Neal. You know, out there with sometimes apparatus on a 3-foot wide. There's no ordinance. Do we need one? Is that something we need to address? And I mean that as not a rhetorical question, but it's a concern.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to say.
Let's keep an eye on that too. I
Definitely.
mean, you'll
Yeah,
see it as you move
maybe a
around town and you
future,
decide
yeah.
whether or not it's worth our address.
I mean, certainly when someone gets killed doing that, we'll be on the alert.
That's my worry, is we're going to wait
Yeah.
till that happens and then we'll be.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will send out a call for agenda items. If there's nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.